Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on the introduction of Onshape as a CAD in the cloud tool. The agenda for this morning is we'll be busy for about an hour and we will do a brief introduction. I will then hand over to myself for a technical presentation and demonstration, and then we will head into a Q&A. Before we begin, we will be recording the session and uploading the video to our YouTube channel afterwards. Please place your questions in the Q&A section of this webinar to be addressed at the end. And please participate in the poll during the webinar when prompted to do so. It is no secret that data and the management of that data is probably the most important asset and tool a company can leverage. Business leaders and divisional leaders and business owners have got to analyze data to benchmark their performance and make improvements in a business. Dashboarding and dashboards themselves are critical tools to have the correct information at hand and accurate at all times. It's a global trend that customers or companies that make use of customer analytics win 23 times more against their competitors when using those customer analytics, and they retain their customers 9 times more against their competitors. It's also no secret that the rapid growth in global data is leading us to really understand how we should collect the data, how we should store the data, and how we should disseminate that data. And the rapid rate at which this data is coming at can really overwhelm a company. 70% of companies fail at their digital transformation strategies for a number of reasons. Statistics show that the biggest contributors to this could be a lack of change management, it's complex software and technologies, continuous evolution of customer needs. You know, our customers want something different every day, it feels like, and really a lack of digital transformation strategy itself. So what is your digital transformation strategy? In the next decade, cloud native applications are going to be a dominant force in any digital transformation strategy. The shift really is from individual enablement to team first philosophy and enabling teams of people to collaborate, as well as the end-to-end approach to product development. The concept of the paperless office has been around for over 40 years, but ultimately, and we still haven't seen a paperless office in its true form, but ultimately the problem has shifted from ink on paper to data on files everywhere. A digital transformation strategy is only truly complete and successful when all the data silos that exist in a company are connected and truly compatible. Engineering teams lag only in digital transformation strategies because there has not been a true cloud-native solution until now. The biggest myth in terms of going into the cloud is the loss of control over IP. In terms of talking about cloud-native and really the distinction between that and cloud-enabled platforms are, they only store files in the cloud. Cloud native really is a single source of truth. It is true intrinsic linking between people and teams, and it is accessible from anywhere on multiple devices. The 4 benefits really of SaaS infrastructure is that it's scalable. You can add teams of people, you can add resources to any project at the click of a button and within minutes. Those team members will be up to date on the project in seconds. In terms of security, there is no sharing, there is no downloading of files onto local machines that could get lost or stolen, and there's no transferring of data across emails and other platforms. It's profitable due to its low cost of ownership. The reduction in the requirement of infrastructure and IT infrastructure really leads to a much lower total cost of ownership. And its reliability is tenfold against its on-premise solutions. In terms of reliability, the failover solutions that cloud platforms offer is really that your data and your files are stored across global servers everywhere in multiple regions, and that within seconds, as one fails, the other one takes over. So what is Onshape? Onshape is the #1 fastest growing CAD system in the world. Onshape is growing at a rate of 10 times the average rate of the CAD market. There are currently over 2 million users of Onshape globally. I'm now going to hand over to Marcel Marburg for the technical presentation and demonstration. Marcel is a qualified mechanical engineer who was a lead mechanical designer in the defense and automation industry and has got over 5 years designing experience in SolidWorks. Over to you, Marcel.
Thank you, Tashi, for that great introduction. And thank you to everyone that is joining us today. And like Tashi mentioned, I will be covering the technical side of the presentation. So to start off, as an organization, you will likely face 3 to 4 key challenges whilst reaching your product development goals. A critical challenge facing firms today is the high expectations of their customers. Digital-first customers accustomed to Take-A-Lot and Uber-like one-click services are bringing those higher expectations to every transaction. They expect fast, personalized products, and that increases the pressure for faster time to market and improved efficiency. Another challenge is providing employees with the tools they need, including anywhere, anytime access to data. Today's employees need remote access to stay productive. In today's world, designers and engineers need instant access. Apologies. In today's world, designers and engineers need instant access to design data in any location and on any web-connected device. Product innovation is always a critical challenge. To succeed in today's competitive marketplace, firms need to constantly innovate and create new products. In order to innovate, organizations need to harness the creativity of employees and also optimize processes to ensure faster time to market. Which brings us to the challenge of IT complexity, which is faced in every organization. Outdated file-based technology results in complexity and high maintenance costs for expensive workstations, dedicated servers, and regular software updates managed by your IT team, or even worse, your engineers. Here's what the industry challenges mean for your business. Time-intensive and rigid processes. First, many organizations deal with processes that are rigid and time-intensive. Users must spend all their time working on addressing system challenges rather than spending their time on designing and innovating. Design rework is also common with file-based CAD. The poor communication and slow feedback process means that it is very difficult to incorporate user feedback in a timely manner, which results in multiple versions being available, which can cause more confusion. It is possible to implement a PLM system, but this can be slow and expensive. We've got difficulty incorporating feedback. Serial edits and email design attachments mean that it is difficult for users of file-based CAD to incorporate feedback in a timely manner. This can also lead to delays due to misunderstandings and mistakes. And this slide walks us through some of the common issues that seriously impact speed, agility, and ultimately hinder the product development process related to data management and collaboration. You start with an engineer working on a particular project. They need a CAD workstation. They need to download and install the CAD software. Now, normally, any project has some sort of collaboration with other engineers, and of course, they also need their own CAD system. There's likely a requirement to speak with suppliers or customers, or even internally to collaborate with other departments such as manufacturing, sales, or marketing. And how do you share data with them? The issue is that they either need the same software, usually the same versions, or a viewing software to gain access. This all requires a lot of effort to have working efficiently. So typically what people will do, especially if they are working with external people, is to send the data via email. That person picks it up, saves a copy to their local hard drive, works in the CAD, saves it, and sends it back via email to the other person. Now you have issues where there are copies of files in different hard drives or emails, and nobody knows at this point what is the very latest version and where the latest version is, or who is working on what data. These separate people could be working on different, these separate people could be working on different copies of the same data and creating conflicts in the design, and you have no visibility. There are different ways you can get around this. You can have a file server, or you can invest in a PDM system at further software and hardware costs. So this still has versions of data in the server that you have to maintain. However, apologies. However, you still have the issue of people having various copies on their personal hard drives. You face file locking issues, and there is still an opportunity for things to go wrong. Soon, you will be asking yourself, who has the latest version? Who is manufacturing the parts? And do they even have the latest versions of those parts which they are manufacturing? And things get worse when you are working with other people who are not within the engineering team. So what do? You send an email and you just keep adding to the problem. The way that we are addressing this problem is by removing files from the equation completely, and all the problems go away. That is what the cloud is really giving you. Fearless design and freedom to work on what really matters, product innovation. This is where the value of Onshape comes in. A full unified cloud solution providing powerful core capabilities and addressing all of the other issues raised throughout this presentation. With data and tools in one place in the clouds, there's no need for downloads, no need for installations, or no files, and no copies. It's a global, real-time single source of truth which enables users to work faster. You've got full version and revision control, workflow and release management, all core to our platform. True simultaneous collaboration both internally and with your supply chain, all accessible on any modern device. Whether you're using Windows, Mac, Linux, Chromebook, you can even use an iPhone, iPad, or an Android device. Now, Onshape was created by the founder and CEO of SolidWorks, John Hirschdick. After leaving SolidWorks in 2011, he founded Onshape with some of the original SolidWorks team members. These guys really understand CAD and have built a fully fledged CAD solution with all the capabilities you would expect from a professional CAD system. From standard content libraries, multi-part modeling, simultaneous sheet metal, and even framework. And everyone has been there. Your team member recommended changes, but via email. And just as you decipher which part they were referring to, they call you asking how much longer it will take. With Onshape, you get built-in commenting, sharing, and note the not copied part, and a full history of every single step since the start of your document. And here's one of my personal favorites. I was busy with an installation at the new Ford plant, and getting your laptop on premises requires a lot of documentation and security each and every day you check in, only to be left in the container for days not being used. Except for the one day where you decide you won't be bothered and you leave it at home. Lo and behold, procurement phones and needs a DXF or a PDF. Or when you go out with friends, and no one understands what a mechanical designer or design engineer does for a living. Instead of boring them with the jargon, rather show them on your mobile device. And this is every project manager's dream. Analyzing the time spent on a project has never been easier. Getting a more accurate way of measuring the time spent on projects, which helps for future quotations, identifying bottlenecks between designers and or releases. You've got an activity page with continuous updates for all included in the project, eliminating the need for managers or lead team members to send multiple emails just to ask the famous question every designer dreads: how far are you with project X? Then one key feature or word every designer will love to hear: milestones. The ability to go back to a point after making a catastrophic error, or being able to try something different without compromising the design or progress of the original design. Okay, so now on to the demonstration. Our scenario is that myself, am a mechanical designer for a fabrication company. A client wants a new display unit for some of his products, which he will be using at a festival. The design should only be made up of sheet metal and square tubing. The goals and the objectives of this is to finalize the design, release the design, and share the design with the client for final approval. So just bear with me while I switch over to my CAD package here. Okay, as stated before, as you can see here that I'm on my desktop. So, and as we mentioned previously, there's no installation required or download. All I simply do is I open my Chrome up to the, without the apostrophe, go to the web page, fill in your details, you can sign in. My profile has been set up to, by default, go to the activity page, like we mentioned before. Think of it as a news feed. So you can see all the current documents or the latest documents and updates that have changed, that have been added. Now onto the analytics. If I go to the left here, go to my analytics, go to audit, and then have an overall activity. Now this is a custom one that I have created. Just move this. Here you can see the active users, documents, versions, releases, shares. You can even see the modeling time or hours spent on particular projects. Got your release statuses, all 100%, most active documents, and even the access location. Okay, but now on to our scenario. So I just went to my documents folder. Going to go to the display unit. So here's the festival where the display unit will be used for the client. Now, as you can see at the bottom here, I've got my part studio. Got the Califest. This is an imported image. You can even import your PDFs. So if you've got product specifications that you want to add, you can have them all in a single document. But I'm going to go back to the part studio. So this is essentially the final product which we will be looking at. But now I want to show you how easy it is to get to this step. So if I go to the left, I'm going to click on versions and history. And you can see down here that I've got branches in the different colors. Well, I've tried different things. And the dots represent certain captured versions that I want to refer back to. So here, as the name states, I've got my space claim. So if you open up the changes, I can see every single thing that I've done. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to right click on it and create a new branch. Let's call this the final display unit. Okay. So as the requirement stated, that we will only be using Sheetmetal and framework. Now you've got your extrudes, revolves, lofts, sweeps, etc. Everything a standard CAD system has. But just for now, for this webinar, we will be showing you the sheet. Apologies for the cats in the background. So I'm going to convert this space claim into a sheet metal part. So as you can see, I just said sheet metal model. You've got your convert, extrude, or thicken, but we're going to focus on the convert side. Now, if I zoom in, you will see that it has created separate plates, essentially. But we want it on the inside. And just to show you a feature later, I'm going to change the bend radius to 6. Okay, zooming back out. We want these faces to be excluded. So now you can zoom in and select these edges to be bent. But just for the scenario, I'm not going to do it. We've converted that. And now a great feature, which I wish I had previously in other software. If you go to the right-hand side, you have your sheet metal page here. Now, if I hover over parts on my flat patterns, you can see that it highlights the 3D image as well, or the 3D part. Now, this is where the great feature comes in. You can see that it's a name of a certain joint and the type. Now, this has been set to rip. I want it to be a bend now. So all those times where they've said, yeah, no, to increase the welding or decrease the welding or decrease the price of bending, you can do it all on the fly without going back in your feature tree and redefining the entire process. But now I want to add some of the collaboration to this as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share this with Dave, our collaborator. And I'm just going to set him to, he can view and he can comment. I'm going to share it with him. Close that window. But now what I'm going to do is just say at Dave, can you view and later add the frames to the design? You can assign it to Dave. Now, the great thing is I can actually tag the entity which I want him to focus on. So as you can see, I'm going to click on the face here. It's going to turn blue. You can also have a markup. So I can say he needs to use that edge, that edge, that edge there. And we've got lines just hidden at the back there. There we go. So now I'm going to assign it to Dave. Okay. Gonna close this. Just going to drag my screen to the left there and show you. Where's Dave's? Here we go. There's Dave. Now here, Dave is currently in his action items. So if it just refreshes, should see a pop-up at the bottom. You can see assign collaborator, please view, and there you can see the unit. You can click on it, opens a new tab to view the comment. Just for better viewing purposes, I'm going to increase the size here. There you can see exactly where his comment is. Place of extrude 1, it goes to the viewing angle that I originally made the comment in. You can also open up the image, see all your markups. And even in this light viewer, you can have your section views. And you can even measure. You can see it's 482 millimeters. So for now, but we want Dave to be able to actually edit this. What we're going to do is we are simply going to go share again. There you can see Dave. We're going to edit, view, going to change it to can edit. We're going to give him all of the permissions. Okay. So now, as stated previously, while Dave is busy here on the right-hand side, if I, Marcel, on the left, double-click on his icon, I can actually follow what he's doing. I can see his mouse movements, I can see how he's viewing the part, and, okay, it hasn't refreshed yet. Let's just get him to the point where you can actually edit. Ah, there we go. And he also gets an update that states I am busy following him. So now Dave is going to do the framework. We're just going to hide the sheet metal up top and hide, well, don't need to hide that. So when we click on that face, Onshape recognizes all of the edges, which is universal for your framework. So you can even add a custom sketch profile, or you can use one of the many standardized profiles that have been loaded. We've got 8020, which is your aluminum profiles, AISC, ANSI standard, AS, but we will be focusing on ISO, rectangular tubing. We're just going to give it that rounded edge. Hit generate, done, say yes. Okay, so now I'm going to go to this face. Let's add the frame. Click there. I am just going to hide that quickly. Move it into place. You can even limit the frame ends. That face there. So now we need to, of course, add some supports. Just to reiterate, the frame ends, as I mentioned before, I'm going to move that into place. As you can see, it overlaps. I'm going to click on it, faces to trim to. I'm going to select this face and that face. Now you can see it has all been trimmed. Okay, so now Dave is feeling a bit lazy. So he can use this sketch, but let's say he wants to mirror it or actually circular pattern. Now, usually what you'll do is you'll have to create a new center line or plane around to mirror, but here what you've got is a explicit mate connector. So what that means is it's a feature within Onshape that recognizes the geographical points on a certain part or line or sketch. So I'm going to select the middle there, select the entity that I want rotated, and there you can see that it rotates it. We're going to limit it to 2, and let's change it to 90. Just flip it around, and there we go. Just going to hide this, hide all sketches, and hide all the planes. And you can even mirror. Now, if you haven't noticed yet, everything that I do, or everything that Dave does, as soon as he clicks the yes or the green check mark, it populates on my screen on the left-hand side. So entities to mirror, we're just going to do this last one. Let's go to the right. And there we go. There's our frame. So now, just for more, for a bit of viewing experience, what you can also do is now, after we've stated this, you can create your cut list within the 3D modeling space. You can select certain or particular frames if you only want to limit a few, or if you have a sub-assembly. What we're going to do is we're going to select all frames. Now you can also add a column. Just want to show you on the right hand here. Here's the cut list that's already been populated. So you can add a column and say, oh, okay, it just disappeared on me. So all frames. Let's call it the project and display unit. There we go, now it pops up. So now if I say yes, there's our project. And you can right click on it, move left, move right, rearrange it however you'd like, or even hide the column if you wish. So now, seeing as Dave is done, you can go in here and say reply, all done. You can set it to resolved, just reply. Now he wants to release this design that he just did. Let's hide this one. We don't want that. We want part 2, which is a sheet metal. Now, what he can do is right click on the part that he wants and say release. Now that's just to release the single part. You can also right click on the part studio and release all of them if you so wish. But seeing as he is only working on the frame, you only need to release this section. Release name, let's just see for our approvers first. But now we see Shell isn't here. And that's because when we shared the document, he wasn't included in the project. So now we're just going to go back to the documents page for the project, right click on it, edit the project. And there you can see it's only myself that's actually allowed in this project to make project administration changes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add Dave on a much higher level. You can change his role to project administrator, engineers, managers, reviewers, or even a supplier that by default only has view only. You can even add your teams. You can invite guests like light users, for instance. Now we're just going to add Dave. So, okay. Now if Dave refreshes, like I said, you can right click on the part studio and then go to release. If I see it, there we go. Okay, and now, as I said before, once again, just going to increase this so you can see it properly. All the parts are now listed, but we won't be adding any of those. We're only going to be focusing on the actual framework. So now you can see as I click there, you can share to all the enterprise users, but the approver in this case is me. So you can generate for all the parts if you've got missing part numbers, or you can just generate for a single entity as well. That's fine. The release name is display unit frame. Release notes. Does this look good? And then you can submit. Okay. So thank you, Dave. That's enough for you now. I'm going to go into our page, and we should be getting an email and a notification. While we're waiting for that to happen, into here, let me just see on the email side. It hasn't gone through. You can see that Dave is still there in the background. What I want to show you, okay, there it is. Release display unit frame requires your approval. Now this also pops up on your action items, but you can click on it to view release. Pending comments, and I believe, yeah, there's the email. I'm just going to pop this out for you, and there you can see you also get an email. So you've got 3 points. You get the notification bell in your action items, and via email you get notified. Here we can click on it to actually go and view it. Takes you directly to the document. There you go. Yes, okay, that looks good. And we just add a comment that says looks good. You can reject it or discard it. You can release it or just apply. We're going to release that. And there you can see that it's being processed. Okay, transition release initiated by Marshall. all is red, and you can delete that latest notification. So now another feature, if I go to the left-hand side here, because we said that you can actually branch off and try different things if you wish. Why am I not seeing? Okay, let me just refresh this. Go back into the display. And there I got another email that just said it has been released. Okay. So because we are working on final display unit, you'll also see on the left there where my mouse is that it changed into a triangle from a circle. That means that it's a released version. So now with the test branches that I mentioned earlier, what you can do is you can actually compare. So I'm going to compare something where this is the one that we've just been working on, and slots that I wanted to add just for some ventilation on the sides. So we'll be met with this dragging bar. On the left-hand side, you'll see the display unit in blue. And if we go to the right, I see all the changes that have happened in the slot test. You can even see, if I zoom in, the difference in radius on the bend. Just going to zoom out. You can also see the slots that have been added. Okay. You can have this nicely in the middle to see the slight differences, everything that's been added. On the left-hand side, you can even see everything that has changed. You can tick the only show differences or see the entire feature tree that has been added or changed. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the slot test. That's the part that you just saw in the merging section or comparing section. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to merge that, the one that we just worked on, into this. And as you can see, there's the frame that Dave has been working on. So I took it from the final display unit and put it into the slot test. Okay. So now, as an added feature for those viewing today, what we are going to be doing is we are going to do link sharing. Now, as I mentioned before, you can share it with individuals within the corporation. Teams, you can actually create separate teams like engineers, reviewers, etc., or team A, B, whatever you want to call it. You can invite certain guests. As you can see, inviting a guest will add them to your enterprise as a light user, and this is only on an enterprise level. Now, for the link sharing, this is perfect for if you're working with manufacturers or external suppliers. You can tick if you want them to be able to export it to different formats. Like, let's say if you've got a drawing, if they can by themselves download or convert it to a PDF and export this as a step, parasolid, etc. So now we're going to turn on link sharing. And now you can see here anyone with a link. Now the links to the documents are, okay, apologies. They are document, I forgot the word now. It's a, this URL will only be for this particular document. So even if I change in 2 or 3 weeks, if you use that link, you will always see the latest changes. So I'm going to post this in our chat. Just get the chat up and running. The chat. Now you can view this on your mobile device, but we do recommend downloading the app if you wish to do so. And of course, using a desktop is always the best option. So now I'm just going to go back to my last slide. Apologies for that delay. Okay. So now in conclusion, with the previous demo that we just showed you with regards to Onshape, you get a package which enables multiple users to work together on the same document at the same time, accelerating the development, manages to identify bottlenecks and optimize the development process with analytics, uses to quickly learn how to use Onshape and light users to quickly and easily access design documents with its intuitive user interface. Anywhere, anytime access from any web-connected device, which means users can always access their design documents and stay productive. Enterprise-grade security on Amazon Web Services, and those of you who have a high security demand, do not fear, as it is commercially used by companies such as Netflix, Unilever, and even NASA. A zero crash and zero lost data environment thanks to the cloud. Market sort updates every 3 weeks that users automatically receive with no software upgrades required or downtime due to downloads. And we can conclude that Onshape doesn't just provide an array of features as a CAD system, but as a single product development platform for the entire business. I'd like to thank all our viewers for joining me in this session, and I'm now going to hand it over to Ross.